Guys, and welcome back to our YouTube channel. If you've not visited us before and this is your first watch, hi. If you've been before and you've come back, thank you. Yeah, today's video is all about my pregnancy with Holly and my labour as well, because I was induced. I didn't have a great pregnancy. I was sick a lot. I was signed off work for a month because the only thing that they could prescribe me to help with my sickness made me very drowsy. It was tough going because everybody was, oh, enjoy your pregnancy, it's amazing, you feel great and you have this glow, and yeah, like I didn't feel like that at all. I found out really early on. I was only about 3 or 4 weeks when I did find out I was pregnant. So to know from a very early on, and I knew because I didn't feel very well, I had that for a long time, and I kind of feel that took away from enjoying like the early stages of it. And I know Chris didn't enjoy it very much because I just didn't want to do anything because I was feeling sick all the time and I couldn't keep food down, and like he was scared to eat Chinese in front of me because I couldn't stomach the smell. And yeah, it wasn't great. And when it did seem to improve a little bit, I actually caught a viral infection, and it was the day that we were meant to be moving into this house, and I was up all night. I was being sick, I couldn't keep water down, I had a really high temperature, and yeah, I was admitted into Aberdeen maternity hospital, and they just kind of hooked me up to a drip, and they were like, it's just one of those things, I could have caught this whether I was pregnant or not, it just feels a lot worse because I was pregnant. And like the next day was really tough because I was told that I needed to rest and I wasn't back to full strength, but like there was people in my new home putting my things away and building our furniture, and I felt really bad. But yeah, that obviously passed, and I did start to enjoy it a lot, like the pregnancy, and it was nice. We were in our new home and we were getting our nursery ready, and it was lovely. She was due in the middle of February, and probably in the middle of January I started having some problems. One night I was just lying in bed with lots of pain. Chris was away, it was like 2 o'clock in the morning, and I sat there for a few hours, just this pain coming and going. Looking back, it was really, really silly. I didn't know what it was. I shouldn't have sat for so long, but I did. I phoned the hospital and they were like, you need to come in, like you shouldn't be feeling these pains. So I phoned my mum and dad, couldn't get hold of my mum, couldn't get hold of my dad, tried my mum again, tried my dad, and I was like, started crying. I was like, Dad, I need to go up to hospital, and he just hung up on me. I think he was obviously just panicked, like being woken up in the middle of the night and there was me crying like, I need to go to hospital. Don't have any idea what it was. I was told it wasn't Braxton Hicks because it was so painful, and that's not meant to be painful apparently. From then we found out I was carrying a lot of fluid. I was told that if I went into labour at home that it was very dangerous for myself and Holly, that basically because there was so much fluid, the force of my waters breaking would force the cord first, which would then mean that Holly would then come and have the cord stuck around her neck. It was very worrying. I wasn't by myself, but I didn't have Chris, and they weren't really telling me what was going on. They monitored me for a few weeks, they checked me for diabetes as well, but it wasn't that. That wasn't the reason why I had the fluid. I was told that if 3 weeks later, if I still had this high fluid, then I would be induced, so I had to come to the hospital appointment prepared. I was in to and from Aberdeen Hospital at least once a week for the best part of a month. We don't live close to the hospital, so it took its toll, and I was tired and I was emotional not knowing what was going on. It was scary, but they were obviously just doing their jobs and being extra cautious and like that kind of thing. But I don't feel like they put me at ease very well, and I would say that's probably my only like negative comment about Aberdeen maternity. I know a lot of people that haven't had great experiences there, but I didn't have a problem. Like, they were great, like, when it came to my actual labour. This kind of just, I got forgotten about as such, that I was just told, yeah, it's okay, like, carry on, even though your fluid's high, you're fine, which worried me, and I started being really cautious. Like, I didn't go and do very much because I didn't want to go into labour at home. I then, the middle of February, we went up to Aberdeen because I was having like no movements from Holly. Sorry, I'm just trying to get this right. The Friday I didn't feel her at all, and I remember we went out for lunch on the Saturday and we were in this Thai place in Union Square in Aberdeen, and I was like, oh, give me a Pepsi, like something with a lot of sugar, get her moving. And it started out, she started kicking away, she was happy, and that was me. I was put at ease, she was fine. The Monday came and I felt horrendous. I just felt like I could sleep for a year. She hadn't been moving all of Sunday, and Chris just said, enough's enough, let's go and get you checked, let's see what's going on. We went up and they've just said, enough is enough, she's obviously not happy, let's come back tomorrow and we'll induce you. I didn't sleep that Monday at all. Knowing that the next day we were going to be going in to get started, to have our baby, was scary as hell. Like, I didn't know what to expect. They weren't very forthcoming with any information. So for us not knowing how the process worked and what was going to happen, it was a long day. It was about 2 o'clock on the Tuesday when we finally were allowed to go up to the maternity hospital and start the process. And when we got there, they were absolutely great. Within 10 minutes of getting there, they'd started the process. I had a pessary in for 24 hours, which is basically just like a tampon full of hormones that you have in for that whole time, and then they come every 4 hours and just check to make sure like if you're any further along, if there's any problems, like that type of thing. That didn't do anything. I didn't feel anything. I didn't feel any different. You then have, I cannot for the life of me remember how many hours break, but you then have a break from anything to see if your body's going to react. And after that, still nothing. I wasn't dilated, I wasn't feeling anything, nothing at all. They then insert a tablet, which is basically the same as the pessary, it's just a lot stronger, if I remember right. You have that for a certain amount of time, and again, you're checked every, I think it's 4 hours. And by the time that had come, that amount of time for the first tablet was done, it was like 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock Thursday morning. So we'd been in for like a day and a half, coming up for 2 days, and nothing was happening. And the midwife finally told me that I was, I think, 2 centimetres dilated. So yeah, she was like, you are, like, this is working, it's just taking its time. So by the time it got to about 7:30, and I was like, right, I need a shower. I'd been there for days, it didn't feel very clean. I'm always one like every 2 days I washed my hair, and I just felt disgusting. I went for a shower, I didn't feel very well. I felt very faint, very nauseous. I managed to literally just wash my hair and thought, no, like, this isn't right. After I just got dressed, I went to go and brush my teeth, and I was sick everywhere. The force of being sick broke my waters, and that was when we found out that Holly had become quite distressed. My waters were very like mucousy, and it was frightening because obviously she'd stopped moving for a lot of the time, and then all of a sudden she was distressed. So they hooked me back up to the ECG, and they were like, once we get you kind of, like, we've checked you and we know she's okay, then we're going to get you through to the labour room, like, we'll get this moving. For anybody that knows Aberdeen and you know where the maternity hospital is, we're south of Aberdeen. So for Chris to be getting into the maternity hospital this time in the morning, he's going as quick as he can and as quick as Aberdeen allows him to. I didn't phone him, I didn't speak to him to tell him what was going on, because he would have panicked. So I just decided to, we'll just wait. It was fine. I didn't feel any pains, nothing like that. And the poor boy, when he got up to the bed where I was, they were packing up my things, and he was like, "What's happening?" And they were like, "Oh, we're moving her through to the labour room." And he was like, "I spoke to you 2 hours ago and nothing was happening." And I remember when they got us into the labour room, like my waters was still coming, and I was on my hands and knees helping the midwife, like clean it up, and she was like, "What are you doing?" And I just remember saying to her, "You don't get paid enough to clean up this mess. Like, it's fine, I'll help." But I just felt useless. Like, I don't know how to describe it other than she wasn't moving in me, and she hadn't been for a long time. And all of a sudden they're telling me that she was distressed, and I just felt like I wasn't doing anything right. Like, the induction process had taken this long, and now she wasn't happy, and then all of a sudden I'm just making this awful mess and somebody else is cleaning up after me. Yeah, I just felt really bad. My labour itself wasn't very long for it being my first. I say my waters broke at like 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning, and Holly had arrived by 5. She was about 5:10. So yeah, it wasn't long. They hooked me up to the hormone drip just to push things further along, because of she was distressed and they just knew that they needed to get her out. I was also told that there was a high chance that she wouldn't be breathing when she did arrive, and not to be alarmed. And I know things don't happen like in the films, but I just expected this big cry when she finally came. And that that room fell deadly silent when she arrived. She didn't make a sound. The midwives didn't really make a sound. They were just busying themselves, like seeing to her. And I just remember turning to Chris and saying, "You need to go with her." And they just took her away. I didn't see her. Like, Chris went after her, and the midwives didn't even tell me anything. Like, they were just seeing to me as if she was in the room still. And they were only gone about 10 minutes, but it felt like a lifetime. And Chris walked back in the room by himself, and my heart dropped. I just thought, where is she? Like, what's happened? And then the midwives brought her in, and she was crying and she was fine. And I swear to God, my heart stopped beating until I heard that cry. But it was the scariest moment of my life, and I felt so much for her without even meeting her. And the thought that she came into this world and wasn't breathing and didn't have me there straight away, I really didn't like that. But we kind of forgot about that as soon as she was put like in both of our arms. Like, we kind of just huddled together and had her, and yeah, all of it was forgotten. And I kind of think, I always say, like, my one piece of advice to anybody that's going to go through that is, you do forget all about that when you hold them and when you see them grow up. So she's 2 now, and I don't mind her. I don't mind what I went through. It gave me her, and it gave us our little family. So yeah, being induced was something that we didn't plan. I don't really think anybody plans it, but things happen for a reason, and they happen the way that they're going to happen. And in the end, you get this absolute bundle of joy who steals all your sleep and all your sanity, and yeah, but it's totally worth it. I'm rambling now, so I'm going to wrap this up. For anyone that's got any questions about being induced, or like anything I've kind of spoken about, even if you're struggling with like sickness in your pregnancy, like, yeah, please get in touch. Like, you're not alone. You're not the only ones that have gone through it. It's a hard time when you do feel like you're the only person really struggling with it, but you're not. And I want everybody to know that everybody's so different in their pregnancies, but we can all learn from somebody else's story and what they've been through. But yeah, if you've enjoyed this video, I would love you to give it a thumbs up, and if you want to see more from us, then yeah, please hit subscribe.